celebrity crush. All right, but here's the catch. See, our subscribers always throw a catch to it.
Okay.
Who's your BBW celebrity crush? And then just your regular celebrity crush.
Are there any BBW celebrities? To be honest, I mean, there's Lizzo, but I'm not claiming her.
Oh hell no! What is that melody?
We are back with another podcast episode, and today we got a special treat for you guys. We got a special guest on the show today. This is a YouTuber, goes by the name of the Lead Attorney. I've seen this guy on Tommy Sotomayor. We've seen Kwame Brown reference him. We've seen him discuss topics like Charlamagne the God and the Jessica Reid situation. He's even went as far as to breaking down the Britney Spears conservatorship issues in that issue. But I mean, he touches on all topics. He gives out a lot of great advice. All right, whether you're just a man trying to deal with, child support issues, custody issues. He's a family attorney, divorce mitigation. He covers it all. He's out of Atlanta, Georgia. And like I said, I'm bringing him into this show today so he can help us answer some of the toughest questions that we have in regards to sports. What would an attorney say about some of the things that we talk about, whether it's Deshaun Watson, all right, whether it's Sean Oakman out of Baylor, whether it's the NCAA allowing athletes to make money off their likeness? What does an attorney have to say about these games? And the one thing I appreciate about him most is that he sounds like us. He communicates in a way where it's easy to understand. He gets the message across. He's very straightforward. Let's go ahead and get to the interview. Let's go ahead and welcome in the Lead Attorney to the show. All right, we are here with family law attorney, the Lead Attorney on YouTube. Actually, we've seen this man come on the scene as of late, talking about some of the hottest trending topics in the media. Kwame Brown, Tommy Sotomayor, Charlamagne the God, Judge Joe Brown. I mean, anything you can think of, even Britney Spears, touching on all topics that are trending. I love it, man. You can get a lot of information from his channel. I asked him to come onto the show to touch on actually some of the topics that we talk a lot about and how they correlate with the law, and just get his thoughts on a lot of these things, from Deshaun Watson to the NCAA. We're going to be breaking that all down today with the Lead Attorney from YouTube. I want you to tell us today, just tell us a little bit about yourself. What made you, want to get into law? Was there another legal practice that you actually wanted to get into? What made you choose family law above anything else? Was it money? Was it monetary? Like what got you into law?
Yeah, such a great question. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to UGA for undergrad and law school. So I'm what you call a double dog, right? And the reason that I went to law school basically is because I can't do math. Right. So I had a business. I was going for a business major when I entered as a freshman into Georgia, and they told me I had to take pre-calculus, and I took that, and it was such a struggle, but I ended up getting a D in it, so I passed. Mm-hmm. And then when I said, okay, well, bring on the calculus, they were like, no, you actually need to get a C in this class, so you need to take it again. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So I told my advisor to switch me to a major that didn't have any math in it. Mm-hmm. And so they switched me to English. which was awesome because I speak English, right? So, man, my college days were awesome because, you know, it was so easy. It had a high GPA and I didn't have to study. And then a senior year rolls around and my advisor was like, yeah, so you know, which high school do you want to teach at? And I was like, what do you mean teach high school? And she was like, yeah, you know, you got an English degree. You can either teach high school or you can teach college. But you'd have to teach college, you have to get your PhD in English. And I was like, I don't want to do either one of those. So I thought during my college years that I was really getting over, but then I realized that I was the one that actually got tricked at the end. And so she said, well, you know, a lot of English majors, they go to law school. So I was like, well, let me take the test. And it went from there. So a lot of people think that attorneys have this whole thing about, oh, you know, I wanted to be an attorney since I was 6 years old, or I saw my daddy get screwed over, or, you know, my mom was in a car accident, the insurance company screwed her over. And it's really not the case. Usually poli-sci majors, history majors, and English majors. Those are the three majors where you really don't have much else to do but go to law school if you don't want to teach. And so that's where I ended up as well. And so when I started my practice out in Atlanta, I was doing a lot of things, some criminal law, some civil law, workers' comp, things of that nature. But I was also doing family law. And just by the course, I don't know if you want to call it like the path of least resistance or whatever it was, I gravitated towards that. And my personality, I'm a pretty patient guy, and I know how to make it look like at least that I'm listening. And those are two qualities that really help when men and women are going through divorces. And so that's kind of where I flourished. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. So I've been doing practicing for about 19, 20 years. Started this YouTube channel during last year when everything was going down about that. So. And kind of here I am. And so first it started out as a channel to kind of help men. And really it's always been that way. But even more so in the beginning, I was talking about child support and alimony, property division, getting visitation with your kids and things like that. But now, you know, YouTube will try to push you into talking about the big names and what's going on recently, right, in the news. So now, like you said, they got me talking about Britney Spears and Charlamagne the God and everything. So really kind of what I do is just, you know, if there's a news story or some big topic, I just kind of interject my legal perspective in it to give people kind of another side to the story. And really most stories that are big, there's always going to be some legal side underneath. It's hard to imagine a big story where there are not legal implications. And so kind of that's where I come from. I still do really talk to the men, although my channel is probably about 70% men, 30% women. So I got a lot of women on there too. But we just talk about issues. I did a live stream yesterday about Kevin Samuels. So it was my first Kevin Samuels video, and we went for about 8 hours. I do these marathon live streams where I'll come home early on a Tuesday, or I'll get a Saturday or a Sunday, and we'll go for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. Boyce Watkins, I did a 9-hour stream on him. I had him sending me mad messages yesterday, sending me all these comments. He's hating on your boy, right? So it's this whole YouTube thing is pretty interesting.
Man, it was crazy hearing you talk about your college experience and the chick choosing a major, because my situation was kind of the opposite. My dad wanted me to go to Purdue University. He didn't want me to go to the school. I wanted to go to a HBCU. He didn't want me to go there. He wanted me to go to Purdue. And so I wanted to find a way to get denied admission at Purdue. So I said, I'm going to apply in aeronautical engineering. And they messed around and accepted me into it. And so I dealt with the same issues. I have math classes with different types of calculus and physics that I've never seen before. My first semester, 24 credit hours. And it's just like, yeah. It was and I said, I got to get out of this ASAP. So I switched over into electrical engineering. So, but as you see now, I'm not even doing anything with regards to that right now. So, college is tricky. College is tricky in that degree. And we talk about that a lot. There are also, we talked about yesterday with college, there are some fields of practice where you need to college. Like as far as being an attorney, you have to break that law down. Other fields, it might just be about learning how to network and communicate with people who don't look like you. And that's one of the struggles of the Black community. And this is one topic I wanted to touch on early, because a lot of Black men, and I want your thoughts on this, and I know you struggle with this as well, in Black families, we talk about how unfair the justice system is. And one of the reasons why, I think one of the reasons why the justice system seems or feels so unfair is because we don't understand the importance of representation, having quality representation, because we don't want to go out and pay. You know, obviously they can give you a public defender. I call them, and this is, again, this is what I label them. I call them public pretenders, extensions of the prosecutor's office. But they're so overworked that there's no way they can really focus on your case the way or pay. And so I think I see a lot of families, they have a son or daughter who may have ran into an issue with the law, and they say, you know what, we're not going to get an attorney. You can just use a public defender. And I think you're doing a disservice there. I'm going to allow you to elaborate, and I can talk about that all day. What are your thoughts about, at least within the Black community, the importance of everyone understanding that you need to be able to invest in representation for anybody, because anything can happen at any time with your kids, brothers, aunts, and that's probably going to be your number one, at least for me, your number one best resource to fight.
Yeah, I totally agree. There are certain cases that you can handle yourself. I do consultations with my subscribers. They can book a session, and I actually had a session yesterday with a gentleman, and he wanted to know if he can handle his own divorce. But this is a man who had been he's been married under 2 years, and they don't have any property together or anything like that. So I just kind of told him what to do, where to go to even get the papers to file. He was going to buy some type of online thing to download the files. I said, no, just go to this website, download everything, and just fill them out by hand, and save yourself the little $200 or $300 they were gonna charge you. But that's because I told him, you know, your case is special in the sense that there's just really nothing to fight about. But if there is something to fight about, whether it's alimony or child support, or whether it's your freedom, you know, you should absolutely get attorney. And anytime there's a risk of something, you know, being on the line. Now, for example, in the criminal aspect, it's interesting, you know, criminal attorneys, they make a lot of money. One of the biggest ways you can make money as a criminal attorney is just handling like speeding tickets. Yeah. Because sometimes people are so afraid to go to court. This is especially in the Hispanic community, where you have some people who are not here documented. They will think that, you know, if they show up to court to pay the speeding ticket, they'll get arrested. So the speeding ticket might be $300, but then they'll pay you $2,000 to accompany them to pay the $300 speeding ticket. So, you know, in that sense, when really there was no chance of them getting picked up or at all, right? So you can spend money on the legal system when you don't have to. But generally speaking, if you're looking at something a little bit stronger than a speeding ticket, you definitely want to consider at least getting an attorney. Now, the problem, you mentioned the public defenders, and like you said, this is definitely an issue with them. A lot of these public defenders, you know, they work so closely negotiating deals with the prosecution that from the outside looking in, it can absolutely be, you know, it's like, are you guys in cahoots, right? And a lot of times they need that bond to be able to work well. You can't have an office where you're a public defender and you are just constantly fighting tooth and nail over every single case. And so what you guys don't really see is a lot of times you might have a case where the public defender will say, okay, you know, you'll talk to a top prosecutor to call in a favor. And that's the special case if they're calling in a favor. But what that means is they can't call in a favor on every single case, right? And a lot of times, you know, you might have a case where they look at it as, oh, I could call this favor in, but I can't, because what if I get something bigger that I really need help on? So they're looking at your case in relation to all of the cases that they have. And they'll just have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases. And so that is definitely a problem. Almost all public defenders have a huge caseload in comparison to a private defender or a private attorney. So a private criminal defense attorney is going to be able to focus more on your case, going to be able to talk to your mama, talk to your sister, right? Going to be able to see you more than a public defender. And a lot of public defenders, I mean, they're good people, but their job is just so difficult. And what you don't see is that they're dealing with a lot of crazy people. A lot of crazy people are in the system. A lot of people who really have mental health issues are they're not getting the mental health treatment that they need. They're getting this penal treatment that's being imposed on them. They're getting jail when they really need mental health. Well, when they go to jail, if someone needs mental help, guess what they usually don't have? They usually don't have a good job. They're usually poor. They might be living on the street. And so the public defender's office is filled with people who have mental health issues. Now imagine you being the public defender. You're just a regular person, just like anybody else. People say, "Oh, you're an attorney and you have a tie." No, I'm just like you, right? And so I know every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I have to show up and deal with all these people with mental health issues. It's going to kind of wear on me, and that's why the public defender's offices, they have so much turnover. Not even to mention the fact that you can absolutely have $100,000 in student loan debt graduating from law school, and then you start making $35,000, $40,000 at the public defender's office. A lot of people don't realize how little these men and women make. It's nothing to come out of law school and make $37,000 when you could have come out of Purdue and maybe you're making 50, right? But then you come out of law school and you go to Purdue, then you go to law school, you get all that student debt, and you come out and you're making $38,000 a year. And so it all weighs on a person, you know, the huge caseloads, their clients, you know, it's not like they're dealing with white collar clients. White collar clients have money for their own attorneys, right? Yeah. You know, usually they're dealing with people with mental issues, people who don't know how to talk to other people. You know, when you see people fighting in these restaurants over these church's chicken sandwiches or whatever they are, a lot of times it's our people. Why? Because we don't know how to talk to one another. Well, imagine working as a lawyer and people are talking to you like that every day, right? So it's not like I'm trying to get sympathy for these people, but I want everybody to kind of see the full nature. It's a lot of times it's almost charity work, and it's fine if you do charity work. But when you do charity work and you get beat down for it every day. And then, like you said you saw them as like public pretenders. Well, so many of their own clients feel that way. And so to have so many of your clients not even trust you when you're really trying to do a good job for them, but they distrust your information, they distrust your advice, they distrust what you're saying at every turn. You know, a lot of times it's like, hey, you know, well, whatever you want to do. You want to go to trial? Let's go. You want to plead out? Let's go. You know, I don't have time to really talk to you if you're going to fight me so much. And in the jails, you know, people are in jail and all they have when they were waiting trial, let's say, and all you have in jail is time. And people just sit back and talk and they just dog the public defenders out. So it's a very difficult situation. Now, having said that, you know, a lot of times people can get charged with very serious crimes. You know, aggravated assault. Well, let's say, you know, that could go, you know, you could get 20 years for that. So, you know, when you go to a private attorney, he's like, oh, you know, you got this molestation charge or you got this aggravated assault charge. Okay, well, that'll be $45,000.
Yeah.
Well, where are the people in our community going to get $45,000? Right? And you can't. A lot of people in our community can't even get credit cards to get that much. Yeah. And so a lot of times they just don't have any choice. You know, you don't want to be like that brother with the hair who was handling his own case. I forgot my man's name. He was hyped up, wasn't he?
Wow. Oh my God. You know what? I felt bad for him in a sense because I knew what he was trying to do. But then I wanted to laugh too because it was funny. The opening statements had me cracking up when he started yelling. Yeah, and I said, I know you fight for your life, but man, sometimes
it's so true. It's so true. So he was hyped up. So you don't really want to be in his position. But you know, hiring an attorney, it's an investment, and it can absolutely be an investment. If I can be honest, it can be an investment that doesn't pay off. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like in these first shooter games, like let's say Call of Duty or something like that, if you've ever played one of those games. You know, once you drop in, you know, your first thing is, okay, you want to have a weapon, because if you're just running around and you don't have a weapon, then I mean, you're not going to make it to the end of the stage, right? And but we've all played this game, Call of Duty or any of the other games, where you can have a weapon. Again, an attorney is like a weapon. You can have a weapon, but you can still get shot. You can still die. And so what you really want is the best weapon. I mean, you can have a knife, or you can have a pistol, or you can have an assault rifle, right? So what you want is the most powerful weapon. But we've all played these games where we have a very powerful weapon and we still lose. We still die. And so what you really want is to get the best weapon possible. The problem with that is that usually the best weapons possible are the hardest ones to get. They're the most expensive to get. You know, you need the most points to get them. But then you can save up and you can invest all this time and money and get the best weapon, and you can still lose. Right. So that's why I see why people are kind of skeptical sometimes on attorneys, because you can say, well, you know, I had this great attorney and I still got convicted of the dope. I got to do 3 years. You know, why did I pay this attorney, you know, $40,000 and I got to do 3 years? But what he doesn't see is, if, you know, he had a lesser attorney or another attorney, no attorney at all, he could be doing 15 years. So there's a huge difference between 15 years and 3 years. But then people pay you so much money and they just want probation. Right. So an attorney is like a weapon, you know, and a weapon is not going to win you the whole war. Right? There have been plenty of our military men and women who've gone over in battle and had weapons and they didn't come back. And so but at the same time, if you're on the battlefield, you need a weapon, right? So it's kind of that's kind of the issue that we have there. People absolutely need weapons, even though it could be that you invest a lot and you don't get the return that you're looking for. But it's better to have it than not have it.
That's facts right there. And that's where I wanted to transition this, because it then takes me to a topic that I've heard you speak on a lot with Charlamagne the God and Jessica Reid.
Yes.
And again, when I look at this situation, I try to look at it from both sides. I try to look at it from the Charlamagne perspective, and then I try to look at it from the Jessica Reid perspective. And then you have to look at it from the legal perspective, the way the police see it, because they ultimately, or the prosecutor's office, that, they have, dilemmas there that prevented them from potentially pursuing, the highest charges. But the one thing that I know Charlamagne, the guy, what he did have at that time, which I think helped him more than what people actually think, is he did get some form of legal representation to help mediate that situation for whatever deal he got. I like, Kwame calls him lesser charge, but what happens when you hire equal representation, regardless of what you did, they're there to fight for your rights. He pled out 2 lesser charges, which is factual. And it ultimately helped him. We now see what type of career he's had because the decision he made to get paid representation to fight for him. And regardless of what you think about the actual incident, I want to talk about both of those things. I want to talk about the actual incident, but then I also want to talk about the importance with regards to the decision he made to retain legal counsel.
Did he have a paid attorney?
I think so. From what I read, I think he had legal representation.
Okay. I mean, there's difference between legal representation and a retained.
I think he had a retained attorney. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he did have a retained attorney. I apologize.
No, you're fine. I don't think that was the issue. I don't think him getting an attorney was what saved him.
Okay.
I think Jessica Reid's mother is what saved him, because how it happened was he was charged with a felony. And Kwame Brown, it was so funny. Kwame Brown was talking about Charlamagne the God, and Charlamagne the God got mad, and he ran to his attorneys to get that cease and desist letter.
Yeah. And
so Kwame had to kind of walk back a few of the statements. But man, Charlamagne did not know what Kwame was going to do, because he was like, okay, I'll walk back a few of these statements. But guess what? He showed the damn indictment. He showed the indictment that was against Charlamagne the God. And it was bad. I won't state it on here just for the algorithm purposes, but if you want to go back and look and read what that indictment wrote, or what that indictment said, it was way worse in a lot of ways than what Kwame was saying. So I mean, Charlamagne the God really shot himself in the foot on that one. But the issue was that Jessica Reid at the time was 15 years old, and she had just experienced this extremely traumatic event. And, you know, she was screaming, and even Charlamagne the God said, you know, when she was in the room, she was kicking over furniture, she was kicking over TVs. And the mom was saying that when she was in the hospital, she was screaming. And so the mother said, you know, I am not going to let you testify in the trial against him. This is while the prosecution had already convened a grand jury. They had already indicted him. They had already issued the indictment. So they were coming hard and heavy against him. They were out for against. But you know, it's like your star quarterback, your franchise quarterback. Jessica Reid was kind of the whole case. She was the whole case. And so when the mom, it's like when, you know, if TB12 goes down with a high ankle sprain and he's out, you know, for a couple of games, you might lose a couple games, right? And so they really felt that the prosecution felt that, well, if the mom is not going to allow the child to testify, you know, we don't want to force the child to testify because no one knew the child's mental state. A lot of people don't really appreciate how traumatic a trial can be. You know, if you pay me $50,000 to go after somebody and I'm a weapon, I'm going at them, right? And it's not going to be pretty. And so in that case, you know, if Charlamagne the God pays me $50,000, I might have this 15-year-old all on the stand. I'm just going to go after hour after hour after hour, and I'm gonna say things to get her confused. I'm gonna say things to get her flustered. You know, after hour number 3, she's not gonna know whether she's coming or going. Right. And you know, she's only 15. It's not like she's even an adult. So I'm gonna have her saying yes, and then 2 minutes later she says no, and then 3 minutes later she says maybe. Well, I thought you said yes. Well, I did say yes, but then you said no. Well, I said no, but then so would you know, are you lying then or are you lying now? And she's 15 and I'm a grown man. Right. But I have to do this because this is what I'm being paid for. And my client's freedom is on the line. And so the mother was like, no, not my daughter. Not my daughter. Where I am not going to allow her to be subjected to this type of cross-examination. So she told the prosecutor's office, hey, your star witness is benched. Your star witness is not going to be on the field. So the prosecutor's office, they had a dilemma. They could either try to play. They were just try to play. They could either try to do the case without the star witness and just use circumstantial evidence if they didn't want to force Jessica to testify, but if they did that, they could lose. And what prosecutors do not want to do is they do not want to lose. They do not want to have their conviction rate go down. They want a high conviction rate. Well, a plea deal counts as a conviction because you're pleading guilty to something. And so they said, listen, Charlamagne, this is what we're going to do. We could try this case against you. And, you know, we're going to be asking for 20 years, 25 years. But we might not win. But, you know, we can give you, let's say, a couple years of probation and have you plead to a couple of counts of disorderly conduct or something like that. And you can plead to that. Well, he was like, yes, give me the paperwork. I'll sign. Right. Give me some probation. So he signs, gets his probation. They get their conviction rate, and Jessica doesn't have to testify and get traumatized on the witness stand. So everybody kind of got their little win a little bit. But now that so much time has passed, Jessica now is in her 30s and she's trying to get justice. But the prosecutor's office is saying, no. We made an agreement with Charlamagne the God that he was going to plead guilty and we were going to get our conviction and we're going to stand by that agreement. This is kind of what happened with the Bill Cosby situation. Bill Cosby got cut loose because there was an agreement so many years ago not to use his testimony, and then the prosecution's office went back on the agreement and the court said, no, you can't go back on the agreement. So that's how the Charlamagne the God thing went down. So I don't really think it turned on whether Charlamagne had an attorney or not, or whether he had a paid counsel or a public defender. The issue was, you know, Tom Brady went down. That was kind of the whole game right there.
Wow. That is That is crazy. Yeah, a lot of that I didn't know. Now, here's where it gets tricky, because remember, that's the legality side of it. What led to the lesser charges. And with regards to the actual story, and I don't really like to get into the he said, she said, or who do I believe and who I don't believe. But when I heard Jessica Reid put out a video, and I heard her make a statement towards the end, she was speaking. I forget who she was interviewing with. And towards the end, she said something to me that made me think of another situation with another college athlete. And we'll talk about that later. But she said, she was talking about the night of what happened. And at the end of her statement, she said, the next day, she said, the next day I knew that I was assaulted, or the R word, because he didn't call me to check up on me.
If you're so innocent and you didn't do anything, why didn't you pick up the phone and call somebody? Why didn't you ask, hey, is Jessica okay? You brought me to that party. You never picked up the phone to call. You never stopped by my house to check on me. Because you knew you were guilty. You knew what you had done.
Check up on me. And that made me think right there, like, as far as me, because I find myself overthinking a lot of things. But when she said that, I said, well, if you have doubt in your mind that it was something legal happened, then did something legal happen? If you're still questioning it yourself, if you're still battling, well, okay, he didn't call me, so that confirms it. That confirms that he did assault me. He was just in it for the assault, and then he got out. He didn't call me. What are your thoughts on that? And I don't know if you've heard that. And like I said, I'll play it. Obviously, I'll play that snippet as well. But that just alarmed me right there with her story, because that made me say, whenever these cases come up, especially when in a case where you've already said it's strongly reliant on her testimony, whether you're innocent or guilty, everything's going to be reliant on your testimony. How do we approach these situations with regards to who do we believe? Because I see a lot of people convicting Charlamagne the God in the media, in the public. They're doing that trial publicly. But how do we weigh what to believe and what not to believe?
Yeah, that's a very great question. In terms of the clip that you're referencing, I haven't seen that clip. Mm-hmm. It was my understanding that she was violated not only by Charlamagne, not only was Charlamagne in the room, but also his I think two of his cousins were in the room, and two of his cousins held her down. And so, and even Charlamagne said that she was kicking over TVs and she was screaming. So to me, if you're kicking over TVs and you're screaming and you're getting held down, it would seem to me that in the moment you kind of know what's going on. So I haven't seen the clip that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll play it. And again, she may have been referencing another portion of the night, but at least with that clip, I thought she was referring to her direct interaction with Charlamagne. But it just, again, nothing looks good for Charlamagne in this situation. I mean, all indicators point that he did something that went above and beyond. But it just made me think, because as I mentioned to you earlier with the Baylor football player Sean Oakman, who had a similar situation where it was him and two other football players. At night, everybody's drinking. They link with a female. All right, there was sexual activity, and then the next day, she says that she was assaulted or the R word, and these football players are like, no, it was with all three of us. It was all consent, and ultimately, he didn't plead out to lesser charges. They actually offered it to him. He rejected it. He took it to trial. And she broke down on the stand and admitted that she lied about everything. It was just her reputation with her boyfriend that was at stake, because he saw pictures that started to circulate around IG that had her in a compromising position. So, and that's where I say
she admitted that on the stand. Yeah,
she broke down, and then so ultimately, the case ended up that he got found not guilty. He got found not guilty, and by then he was projected to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. By the time the case was over with, he was long and forgotten. He tried to do a few workouts, never got any real push, and now he might be. The last time I heard, he was playing Canadian football, but that's nothing like the NFL. So that's what I say with these situations, is just like the danger in how the media tries these cases. Because I called her out. I called Molly Karam out at ESPN. And ESPN actually went back and deleted the video when she really went in on Sean Oakman. So they deleted that episode. So you can't find it. So, and she went in on him. She basically said Baylor needs to change this, change that. These football players are out of hand. Just basically trial by fire, trial by the media, and just demolish this guy for about 2 to 3 months. And then we find out it was all a lie. But then, and I say this to everybody, you see a ticker at the bottom of the screen, Sean Oakman found not guilty, but nobody says a word after you spent months tearing them down. And that's like, what are your thoughts with these situations, and then with athletes? What can men, because I know you say this is a men's channel, what can men or even athletes do to protect themselves from situations like this?
You can't do anything. I mean, the only thing you could do is not interact with women. If you don't interact with women, you're going to be safe.
Wow.
But if you interact with women, you will always be at risk. And the issue is so great because women are not penalized for lying on you. You know, a woman can try to lie on you. She can try to extort you. She can try to get some money out of you. She can try to save her reputation by sending you to prison. And if it doesn't work, guess what? Okay, it just didn't work. Okay, you're free to go. After you've spent, months getting your reputation destroyed, after you maybe lose your job, or like you say, your stock drops on the market, after you spend $30,000, $75,000, $125,000 on your legal defense. Listen, if you spend 80 grand on your legal defense and she breaks down on the stand and says not guilty, your attorney's going to be like, okay, we did a great job. Thank you so much. Yep. You're going to be like, am I 80 grand? He's like, oh, no, I had to pay my mortgage. Like, you're not getting any of that back. Your attorney's like, I did the work, right? But, no one is going to arrest this woman for perjury. No one is going to bring charges against her. She's not going to be accused or indicted of anything. And everybody's going to say, oh, okay, you were innocent after all. Okay, no harm, no foul. And then everybody's going to go to lunch. And you're sitting there with your reputation destroyed. And there's no recourse for you. Now, there's a reason for this. This is intentional. This is absolutely intentional. The state is here's what the state wants to do. The state does not want men going around violating women. All right. And what the state is worried about is, if I'm a woman and I have a friend, a female friend, my best friend, my girlfriend, and she tells me that she's going to make up charges against some guy to try to get money out of him. And she files a false police report, and they go to trial. And in the trial, it comes out that she lied. Well, guess what? She's going to get, let's say she gets 5 years in prison. Okay. So that's what men want to happen. We want these women to be punished.
Yeah.
So the system works and she goes to prison. But then let's assume that 2 weeks later, after she's in prison, I'm on a date, and then my date violates me. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like a date violation thing. And I was down at first, but then it was too aggressive. So in the middle, I said, listen, this is too aggressive. We need to stop. And he doesn't stop. And then I'm like, no, let's stop. And he keeps going. And I'm screaming at him, stop. And he doesn't stop until he finishes. And then he gets up and he leaves. Now, that's a violation. It starts with the R. I say violation just, but when I say violation, you need to understand I'm talking about the R word.
Yeah.
Because she withdrew her consent and the man kept going. But, there's no, so she says, the next morning she wants to file a police report. But she's like, oh man, what happens if I file a police report? I don't have any evidence. It's he said, she said, we go to trial and she wins and he wins. If he wins, can I go to jail for lying? Can the prosecution turn against me? This is what they call a chilling effect. So the fact that you incarcerated one woman it's going to chill all of the other women from bringing violation charges. And that's what the state does not want. So the state would rather allow women to lie on men than to allow men to get away with this type of violation where it's he said, she said, the state does not want women to be scared, let's say.
Wow.
So because the state does not want women to be scared to file these charges, if it turns out that she lied, or if it turns out that the charges are unfounded, nothing is going to happen to the women. Now, of course, on the books, there are laws that if you file a false police report, if you commit perjury, there's sanctions, but the state almost never uses them, so that other women who are looking still feel comfortable in bringing their own violation charges that happen to be justified.
Yeah, that's the scary, especially for some of these athletes, especially, because some of these athletes, you've been to school, I know exactly what they deal with. You were University of Georgia, so
yeah,
those football players, and especially now, they probably got 20 to 30 different females in their IG inboxes every day, and they just get stuff thrown at them, and they're so young.
I would see it. At UGA, I was an RA, or resident assistant, in the football dorm, in the sports dorm. So I was there with who was there at the time? It was Seymour was there, Richard Seymour. Yeah. I think that was around the time Hines Ward were there. I mean, we were always putting boys in the league, right? UGA, Georgia's pretty stocked. Yep. And even our guys that didn't make it to the league, they were really good. And so sometimes you never really knew who was going to go. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of like the RA, or the hall monitor, really. And I was there for 3 years. And I would see just the baddest women. Yeah. I mean, just the baddest women you would see in your life. Just walking, and our dorms, because this was a special dorm, it was the best dorm on the campus, because it was the athletic dorm, right? And we're trying to get recruits and things like that. So all of the dorm, you know what a dorm looks like. You go into a big building, and then you walk down a hallway, and then you just open your doors. Yeah. This dorm was a motel. So all of the doors open just to the outside. Oh, and you just had catwalks, right? Uh-huh. And at night, you could just hear this click, 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 click on the cement catwalks. And what it was the women's high heels. Yeah. And I would open my door, I'd peek out the window, and, just the baddest women. I mean, they're older than us, because we were only, 20, 19, 21 at the time. And we're looking at, 24-year-old women, 25-year-old women. But they were coming, and it wasn't just like a whole, it wasn't a pay for play type of thing. It was these women trying to get in on the ground floor, right? And hopefully, this guy who I'm going to deal with, if I'm his girlfriend, if he sees me fit to be his girlfriend, or maybe I can get a baby out of him. Once he hits the league, I'm already in. I've already laid my track. And so these, I mean, you can really, as a man, you can really go easily 6 months to a year and never really see a 10 with your own eyes. Like, you can see 10s on IG, but to really see a 10, it's hard to go to the mall and see a 10. I mean, if you really think about it. Yeah. And there were 10s at night at McWater Hall. They were absolute 10s because that's where the money was. So you're exactly right. These athletes are absolutely targeted. They're absolutely targeted for this type of activity.
I've seen some universities take the stance that they give the athletes waivers. They say, before you have any type of sexual activity, make sure he or she signs this waiver. Because what happens is, if you get caught up in any situation, we're automatically going to kick you off the team and remove you if you didn't have this waiver signed. Whether you're guilty or innocent, that doesn't matter. If you didn't get the waiver signed and you find yourself in this situation, we're always going to look at you like you're in the wrong. But I think it's sad that it's come to the point where now you're talking about 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds have to use waivers to get consent. And I think, man, that and it's just tough.
They don't even work.
Yeah.
The waivers don't even work. How is a waiver? I just told you a situation. Let's say I'm a woman and I'm on a date, and then I agree in the beginning, but then homeboy is going buck wild on me. So I say stop, and he doesn't stop for another 15 minutes. How, that's still a violation. That waiver means nothing. That waiver just meant that I was good when I had my clothes on. Yeah. But that waiver does not mean that I'm good through the whole process. So you can, if I'm a woman, you can absolutely get me to sign a waiver. Then I can say that I told you to stop in the middle. I can say that you didn't stop, and now you're in prison for 17 years, even though you got your waiver signed. Yeah. But what good is the waiver?
That's true. Isn't it? That I feel like there could be similar situations, similar to what you see, and it may be in your field with the prenuptial agreements. If a woman feels like she signed it under some form of duress, it could ultimately be null and void. With prenups or anything like that. So I feel like what you said, I don't think the waivers would be the end all be all solution to this issue. But I think the waivers were just for the colleges, as far as the athlete. You temporarily stand with the team. Like, you did your due diligence temporarily. We'll stick with you throughout the legal process to see what happens. But if you fall into one of these situations and you don't have a waiver signed, you're out of here. No ifs, ands, or buts. So I think it was more so for the school, not for the legality of it.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Maybe it's just for the school to show that we're doing our part.
Yeah.
But let me. I don't want to leave this comparison of these BS waivers to the prenups. Okay. Prenups, they absolutely work. They're, in the manosphere and the red pill community. You're in the sports part of YouTube, but sometimes I get pulled into the red pill part because of the stuff that I'm talking about. You'll hear a lot of things about prenups don't work, and it's just not true. Now, you can make a prenup that does not work. Steven Spielberg, a lot of men like to say, oh, well, Steven Spielberg's prenup didn't work. Do you know why it didn't work? Because he wrote it on a napkin. Right. Whenever you hear that prenups don't work, you have to ask one question. You just have to you have to say one word. When someone says, oh, well, prenups don't work, or oh, my neighbor did a prenup and it didn't work, you have one word. The one word is why. Wow. Why didn't it work? Oh, well, he drafted it himself. Oh, okay. Is he an attorney? No. Well, how the hell do you think it's going to work? Right. But two attorneys drafting a prenup, one attorney for the male, one attorney for the female, both fiancés, it will absolutely hold up. A waiver should not even be mentioned in the same category as a prenup, because the waiver is just like you said, it's just for PR. It's just for the colleges to CYA, right? So you're exactly right. Prenups are absolutely legal documents that hold up, but you got to do them properly. But the waiver is not going to hold up under any circumstance.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, that's good to know for you. I know we talk about this on our channel a lot. So, make sure you guys keep that information on hand. If you ever run into a situation like that, don't run from the fact that a prenup may be something you may have to introduce into your marriage. But as we talk about college athletes, now I want to get into the professional realm. Another topic that you've talked about a lot, and even with me, you may not know this, we talked about this situation probably when it was fresh, hot off the presses with Deshaun Watson. And we even talked about it to a degree where somebody reported our video and YouTube removed our access to go live for 90 days.
What?
We couldn't go live. Yeah, we couldn't go live for 90 days. Now I appealed it. So they relieved the ban after 60 days. I could start going live again. They didn't ban the channel. They didn't even take the video down. But they said because of that video, they said it was disrespectful to women. They removed my ability to go live for 90 days. Yeah. And so we've had to fight that. And so it's a touchy situation to some people.
Let me just jump in. You know what this is? This is a chilling effect, because the fact that you said, I didn't know anything about, I'm newer on YouTube, guys. Not new, but my channel was just monetized in January. So, I'm not really up on the game so much. And if I had known then what you just said, I might not have made my Deshaun Watson videos. I did not know that they would do that.
And the funny thing about it is the portion of the video that was reported was the only woman on the panel actually speaking on the topic. So that was the funniest thing to me. So I said, it was the woman on the panel that ultimately it was her words that they felt were most disrespectful to women. And I said, that just blows my mind. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because now with the Charlamagne guy situation, that was a situation where you're dealing with criminal. Deshaun Watson, civil. And from my standpoint, and from a lot of people's standpoint who not in the law, we're saying the first thing we're going to say is, okay, well, how come he's not getting charged criminally? Maybe she's just lying. Maybe she's just chasing the money. Are we looking at that situation entirely wrong? Or is there some legitimacy to the fact that the entire criminal process, it doesn't look like he's going to get charged criminally? There's some shady things going on where Deshaun Watson's attorneys are saying some things about the other law firm that's handling this class action. It's turned into what may be a small class action suit now with over 20 women. Are we looking at this case all wrong, or is there something to the fact that this is civil and not criminal?
It's legitimate. It's legitimate, to be honest. A lot of women who get violated report the violation the next day.
Yeah.
And then you will have a lot of women who will report the violation in a month. And you'll have a lot of women who will report the violation in a year. You'll have a lot of women who will never report the violation. You know, women, you know, we can kind of speak freely. It's just us men, right? Yeah. Women are just so emotional, and you never know how a traumatic event is going to affect women as a class. And so, I've seen it all the time. I've represented women who are domestic violence survivors. In fact, aside from being an attorney, I'm also a specialized domestic violence mediator. So I've had a lot of training and experience dealing with domestic violence survivors. And I will tell you that it's hard for us men to understand, but it is extreme. Like if you get mugged or if you get robbed, you're not going to wait 2 years to report the robber. But it is extremely common for women to wait, and also for women just to never report things. Unless maybe there's a big reason, right? And a lot of women they'll just try to erase it from their mind and move on. So it absolutely happens. Now, so the fact that what I guess I'm trying to say is the fact that they waited doesn't mean that nothing happened necessarily. It doesn't mean that it did happen. It doesn't mean it didn't. It means that you can't really use the fact that they waited to kind of to say if something happened or not. Now, again, you're asking a legitimate question. You're saying, well, why hasn't he been charged? Well, a lot of these things happened like a year ago. And so the prosecution is sitting there like, okay, if we go arrest this man and then we go through the whole rigmarole of indicting him and we take him to trial, what do we have as evidence to win? You know, we basically have he say, she say. We don't have any videos. We don't have any confessions. We don't have any fingerprints. So it could be that we go through this whole rigmarole and then we lose the trial. And what did I say in the very beginning? Prosecutors want a high conviction rate. So they will not really want to take a case to trial if they don't think they can win. And so a lot of these prosecutors' offices are like, hey, I don't know what you want us to do. You waited 1.5 years. We can't do any violation kit. You know, we can't examine if you have any micro tears or micro lesions. You know, we can't take any semen samples, any blood samples, no DNA samples under the fingernails. All of this stuff is gone. You know, you've taken 1.5 years of showers, so everything is gone. So we're not going to be able to win if we go to trial. So what's the use of even, you know, we'll look around and we'll see, you know, we might send a detective out, but in terms of arresting him, because they don't really have a case. But again, that doesn't mean that nothing happened. It just means that they don't have a case. Having said that, you know, some of these, at least one woman, it came out, you know, and, you know, Deshaun Watson is such an idiot. Shout out to Deshaun. You know, he went to school up the street. He went to school in Gainesville, here in Gainesville, Georgia, a humongous celebrity up here. But, you know, you're worth so much money and you're going around, you know, looking for massages on your damn IG, right? Yeah. Of course, you're going to get set up. And, you know, I think they're saying, you know, according to the calculations, like he was getting massages from a couple of the Texans masseuses, but then he would also get 2 or 3 massages from IG people, you know, every week. This was during the whole pandemic and all that. And he was getting massages down the street here in Atlanta. And so it's like over 50 women. And that's one of the things that Harden, his attorney, is saying. He's like, you haven't told us who these women are. We don't know who they are. It could be 50 women, and you're saying, okay, 20 of them, 22 of them are suing us. Who were the 22? Yeah. So that's what, they were arguing back and forth over that for a long time. But it came out, I think, that one of the women, some 23-year-old, 22-year-old goofy chick, actually was sending him texts saying, hey, send me 30 grand or I'm going to say that it was a violation.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, man. Yeah. I mean, you can be stupid. It's not a crime to be stupid. And I think Charlamagne, I think Deshaun Watson was absolutely stupid in him being worth so much, going on IG looking for massages. Having said that, being stupid itself is not a crime. You should not be indicted for being stupid. And women are trying to extort him. I'm not saying all of these women are trying to extort him, but as of right now, he's certainly an innocent man because he's never been convicted of anything. And like you said, all of these are just civil cases. They're just money damages cases. So we're kind of seeing what's going to happen with them.
Yeah, we actually pulled up, and I think she since deleted the profile, but we pulled up one of the women's accusers' IG profile. Remember, we did this early on into it, so a lot of them hadn't went through and cleaned up some of their IG pages. And if you see some of the ads that she had out for massages, it's just like, well, I know what I'm paying for. I mean, you're half naked on a massage table saying DM me to book a session. It's just like, well, if I'm an athlete, and like I tell people all the time, if you're an athlete with a check mark and you see on a woman's IG page, a lot of them, not all of them, I'm not gonna say all of them, but you see the book me thing, a lot of them know what that book me, hit me in the DM to book me means. And maybe he fell into that. Maybe there was some weird addiction to that was going on. Like you said, stupid actions, but he got caught up in it, and now he's in a whirlwind that could cost him his career.
I don't know. I mean, it's coming out now that people are like, listen, the Eagles are like, hey, what's going on? Yeah. The Dolphins, even the Broncos, they're like, everybody's really waiting. They're super interested in what's going to happen. If he can get everything wrapped up, before the start of camp, which is, right around the corner. But, he's just such a great player. And, the Texans have certainly moved on. They brought in 3 new quarterbacks, right? And so they're done. And the Eagles have a ton of draft picks. So people are, they were talking about it, I think, yesterday or today. People are like saying they're really trying to figure out if he's going to be able to make it, even if, let's assume that that he doesn't get arrested or anything. Even teams are like, hey, even if, he gets suspended a couple games, 3 games, 4 games, he'll still be able to play for the rest of the season. And he's such a franchise quarterback. He's such a great talent that teams are absolutely, they're wanting to see what's going on. Now, who knows if it's going to get resolved, because his attorney, Harden, is like, we are not settling.
Yeah.
And Busby, all of the women's attorneys, he's like, we are not settling this case. And then he tries to call Harden and says, hey, let's settle, right? And Harden is like, no, the only way we'll settle, what they're saying is the only way we'll settle is if, everybody can talk about it, everything's disclosed. We are not signing any non-disclosure or anything.
Wow.
We're not admitting to anything. And so that's a huge hang up. But he's, I don't know. Who knows? I absolutely think stuff was going on, but I'm not sure it was forced. I think a lot of the stuff that went on was consensual. One of the ladies, she was like, I was going to give him a massage, right? So he goes in and lays down on the table. Unbeknownst to me, he gets naked. So I'm out in the back, with my purse and my phone and my keys and everything. But
Yeah.
I walk in to give him the damn massage, and I see him on the table naked. And I'm like, oh my God. And so, of course, I'm immediately uncomfortable and I'm scared for my life. So what do I do with my keys and my phone and my purse? No, I walk in, close the door, and start massaging him.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, man, you can't win as a man.
Mm-hmm.
If the woman sees you way over there naked and she's uncomfortable and she has two options, she can even leave with her keys and her phone and her purse. She's like, no, I don't want that option. I feel so uncomfortable that I want to close the door behind me, go in there and start massaging. It's like, Deshaun's,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about all the women, but I definitely think some of the women he's getting railroaded.
I think it's definitely a potential money grab situation for some. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it is to me, because I can even use myself as an example. I probably even shouldn't be saying this publicly. Like, I play a lot of FanDuel, fantasy sports. And so I get an email one day from a law firm saying, there's a class action lawsuit against FanDuel right now. We saw that you were actively playing FanDuel around this time. Were you affected? And I don't think I was affected. I can look back. I probably wasn't really affected, but he said, you know what? Let me hop into this and let me join in on it. And I ended up getting a portion of a FanDuel settlement. And it's just like, like I said, it was for me, I was just looking at it like, well, I lost. I mean, might as well try to recoup some of this money I lost.
Exactly. It's probably set up anyway, right? So yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. So you are absolutely affected.
And I'm just looking at it like it's an easy opportunity to tag onto a situation where I don't really have to put forth much evidence that I was wrong. They're just looking at my account saying that I played during that time frame. And when I look back on it, do I think, no, I was wrong or cheated? No. Not that when I look back on it, but yeah, it was just an opportunity for the money grab. So that's when I compared it to myself. I said, that's why I think the danger in them civil suits is like you said on your show, you can sue anybody for anything. I mean, I had a situation where somebody tried to sue me over a dog. And it was a weird situation. I don't really go into it, but it's just weird. You are right. People can literally sue for absolutely anything. And I had to go pay filing fees and address it. Yeah. And it's just like, Jesus, like, because I'm getting sued over absolutely nothing. It was one of the funniest things in the world. So we got through with that. The last thing I wanted to touch on before we get to the hot seat questions, because we got a few hot seat questions for you. And just your thoughts on the potential legality issues with the NCAA allowing athletes to get paid off their likeness. Now we see that the NCAA saying they're not paying players out of their pocket. They're just saying, look, if you're one of the best players, you can go sign endorsement deals to make money off your own likeness. We're not going to restrict you anymore. Do you see any potential legal concerns that could start to arise, especially because when the money goes up, it's going to be a lot of questions, because Master P, his son, has already signed a $2 million deal. You got a lot of kids who, as soon as this decision was made, the next day, $2 million deals released. And you're starting to see it sprinkle now. Even a player that I interviewed on my channel, as soon as they released this information, literally the next day, his website was up and running, selling his merchandise. It's just like, man, you guys were on top of it. But what potential legal issue? And just, and I know you can't give legal advice, you're just giving legal information, but as far as the athletes who, if you want them to be cautious for anything and diving head first into this, is there anything that they should look out for with regards to legal concerns?
Yeah, really the first thing that I would do is hire a manager, an attorney, an accountant. You need a team, because like you said, there's just so much money in it, right? There's so much money. And you at 19 years old, believe me, you are not ready. you're not ready to negotiate against, how are you as a 19-year-old going to negotiate against Nike, right? And get a good deal? Or, how is your mama, who's got a high school education, what is she going to do with Adidas when they call, right? You absolutely need a team. And, they're going to take their little cut. But yeah, first thing is I would advise to get some type of representation. I think it's an absolute win. Honestly, I don't know too much about the details of it. I'm not sure if they get if the school gets a split or if the NCAA gets a split. I heard maybe it was some type of percentage or something. I don't really know what's going on with it, but I think it's an absolute great thing. These players have really been pimped out their whole, just the whole trajectory. Now, it's kind of been, schools would do a lot to make it up. And again, I went to Georgia and I saw boys who could run a 4.5, but they were from Brunswick or they were from Albany, and they're just dirt poor, but they're riding around in a $50,000 blacked out SUV with their big forearms hanging out the window. Where you get the SUV from? Yeah. With the SUV costs as much as your trailer back in Albany, right? So, it's always kind of been some money going around.
Oh yeah.
And every year that you go back, it was probably more and more and more money, right? But every year that goes forward, the NCAA kind of tighten up the scrutiny. But it's just the colleges were just getting over. They were absolutely getting over on our brothers and sisters for years. So I think this is excellent. And but if our young brothers and sisters, if they're not wise enough to get representation, the companies and the NCAA, they're still going to find ways to get over.
Yep.
So, if you're 20 years old, you're not ready. You're just not ready. There's nothing you can do. So I would advise everybody just to get representation, legal representation, but also financial representation and really like a brand representation. Even, talking about YouTube, there's a lot of YouTubers that are represented by affiliate marketing brands and networks, and they'll negotiate for you. And, I'm sure you get a lot of emails from people saying, oh, we would love to advertise on your channel. And you say, okay, well, how much am I worth? Right? Because you don't really know, if Nike wants to put an ad on your channel, how much are you going to charge them? 2,000, 5,000, 10,000? You don't really know what it's worth, right? But people in that space who do these contracts every day, they'll know. So they'll know how to analyze your analytics and how many views you're likely to get, and they can kind of target what your worth is. But you just sitting at home, how the hell are you supposed to know? So I think a lot of these athletes are the same way. If EA Sports wants to come out with Madden 2023, how much are you going to charge them? Is it going to be a percentage? Is it going to be a flat fee? Is it going to be something proportional to something?
Yeah.
Is it going to be pegged to something? Is it going to be a combination of all these pay schemes? There's just no way you can do it yourself. So I would represent having some type of representation.
Yeah, I agree. Because we even still to this day see pro athletes, people who had money for years and seen it all. We even see them make the wrong decisions or sign bad contracts. Even with that type of experience. So yeah, I think part of the program, and from what Adonis Arms, the athlete that I interviewed on my channel, what he told me was, he says they make you also enroll in a financial literacy course at the school. And I don't know how effective that's going to be. I would be very leery of listening to that advice. I think like you said, hiring your own financial advisor would probably be the smartest move. Someone who can advise you, at least who's incentivized to advise you properly. That's probably going to be your best way to go, because these athletes, like Master P, son, he's going to be bringing in $2 million. That's a lot of money for a young athlete with everything at their disposal to have. And sometimes, money can come up missing here or there if you're not careful about what's going on. Money can come in and out, and you can get ripped off before you even know it. We got 3 hot seat questions from our subscribers.
Okay.
As we end this up, and it's been again a great conversation. So again, we appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure you guys, y'all got to check his channel out. I know a lot of you guys are already familiar with him, but make sure you go check his channel out, The Lead Attorney. Subscribe, because I'm telling you that the conversation, sometimes I'll be playing PlayStation 5 and I'll just turn the sound off and just turn your video up just to hear the conversation. It's a really good listen, because there's so much good information you get regardless of what they're talking about. You can go listen to the Britney Spears videos. It's small tidbits of information that you can get that can help you in any aspect of life. But the first question, we got to put you on the hot seat. So I'm gonna put you on the big screen for this.
Okay.
First question. Your celebrity crush. All right, but here's the catch. See, our subscribers always throw a catch to it.
Okay.
Who's your BBW celebrity crush, and then just your regular celebrity crush.
Are there any BBW celebrities? To be honest, I mean, there's Lizzo, but that's I'm not claiming her. I don't know if there are any BBW celebrities. I can't think of one.
Not many.
Which is an indictment on Hollywood in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So maybe I'll pick two.
Yeah, just pick two. Like
current or just like in the past, or
doesn't matter. Just whoever. Celebrity crushes.
Jesus. You know, when I was coming up in the 90s, okay, I'm gonna pick two.
Yeah.
Because I'm old, right? In the 90s, when I don't know if you remember, this is not aged well, but Mariah Carey.
Okay.
In the late 90s, come on, man. I remember this is before the internet.
Okay.
And I remember everybody when she first hit. I was in Atlanta and she first hit, everybody was playing her sounds. I remember when everybody thought that everybody thought Mariah was a BBW. Everybody thought she was a fat black woman. Yes, because her voice is so full. You would think she's one of these fat black women that sang in the church. Right. And then she got her upbringing in the church. So you're like, oh man, I know what Mariah Carey looks like. She's 250 pounds. Yeah. She's, she got the Jerry curl. And then, when the video started, because you would only know what people look like in a video because there was no internet. Mm-hmm. So when she released that first video and you saw that she was not, so 250 pound black woman, just because her voice was so strong. It was so strong. So shout out to Mariah Carey back in the 90s. She's a killer. And also, I had this whole thing about this Nia Long and Halle Berry way back in the day. Now, of course, none of these have aged well. All right, but you gotta go back. You gotta go back. A lot of you guys are gonna be like, "Dear Lead Attorney, like Halle Berry's looking rough." But I'm talking Boomerang Halle Berry. A lot of you guys are gonna know the movie Boomerang with Eddie Murphy. Boomerang Halle Berry, Jesus Christ. And then Nia Long, even in between the whole Friday and Love Jones. I got some, women with that short hair. I like that. So yeah, I'm gonna pick three. These are oldies but goodies. I don't know how good they are now, but back in the day they were good. Mariah Carey, Nia Long, and Halle Berry. Oh man.
Okay, the first one out the way. Then that would all the questions I'm looking at. Probably the oddest one. Well, I don't even really want to say it's odd. Celebrity crush. That's a pretty common question. Next question. What's your greatest disappointment in life so far?
Oh, that's a good one. That's my greatest disappointment.
That what makes you think right there.
That does. I've had a lot of disappointments. I was actually going to mention this, but I forgot about it. You had asked me, in terms of my career being an attorney, I really wanted to be an FBI agent, an FBI special agent. I felt like that was my calling. Mm-hmm. And to get into the FBI back in the day, there were only 4 ways. You could be an attorney. Mm-hmm. You could be fluent in another language. You could be an accountant, or you could have military experience. Mm-hmm. And I had 2 because I was an attorney and I'm fluent in another language. Mm-hmm. And I went through the whole process and everything was looking good, because they want you to be healthy. I'm sick. You guys can't see me, but I'm 6'3", I've been losing weight. So I'm like 225. Mm-hmm. So, and I love working out. I've been in the gym for 20 years. I was in love with the whole thing, but they do not allow you to be an FBI agent if you wear glasses.
Oh, wow. And
you are not allowed to get LASIK surgery to correct it. And they give you a polygraph test, a lie detector test. And one of the questions that they ask you is, did you have any type of corrective surgery? And my left eye, my right eye is good. My left eye is jacked up. And because of my left eye is jacked up, I did not qualify to become FBI special agent.
I did not know. Yeah, I didn't know it was that. Just qualifications were that stringent. That I can't wear glasses.
They are beasts. Like if you look at DEA agents, they're all fat, and you don't see anybody fat. You don't see anybody wearing glasses. At least back in the day, special agents are legit. You know, you have to be able to run 2 miles in a certain at a certain time. You got to be able to do sit-ups and pull-ups. They're serious. They're not just beat cops. They are not cops. You know, you see cops all the day and they're 300 pounds and they can't run they can't chase anybody down. These FBI agents they're machines. You know, it's to the point where they don't want you to wear glasses so that if you're in a fight or something and your glasses fall off, you can still perform. You can still shoot somebody. Right?
Wow.
So, yeah. But they're serious. They would even pay you to work out. And I was like, I love going to the gym.
Oh yeah.
Like they would pay you to go to shooting practice. Right? They would give you like little bonuses and stuff. I was like, I love guns. And my eye. And that was a huge disappointment because it was something that it was out of my control, but it was an absolute no. It was absolute no exceptions, and it kind of determined my whole career. Now I'm a happy guy, it worked out, but it was hugely disappointing.
That's what's. I mean, yeah, it's a disappointment whenever you have aspirations to do something and then everything perfectly falls in line, and then something that you can't control ends up being a detriment to it. So yeah, I think we all have situations like that. Last question, because when we start talking on in our live streams, conversations always go left, go off on a tangent. I know one night we were talking about Atlanta, and this guy in the chat was just raving about the women in Atlanta. He said you got to go there if you haven't been. He says it's unbelievable. You're in Atlanta, Georgia. What are the best assets or qualities of women in Atlanta? If you want to tell our subscriber base, and this is coming from your vantage point, because we had a subscriber who we thought was crazy. He was raving about it so much. And this was his question. He wants to know, what do you think about it?
He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And it's one thing. And you mentioned qualities, it's one quality. The quality is volume. It's volume. There are no black men in Atlanta. Okay. Like some people say the ratio is 10-1. Some people say it's 15-1. Some people say it's 20-1. If you come to Atlanta and you're a black man, it's all you can eat. It's all you can eat. There are a lot of terrible looking black women in Atlanta, of course, but it's just the volume of it. Yeah. It doesn't matter if there are a lot of terrible looking black women if there are millions and millions of black women and just so few black men. There's just so few eligible black men. If you come down, he's exactly right. If you come down here to Atlanta, I don't know how it is in New York or California or Texas. A lot of black men, you might have to compete to get a good woman. You don't have to compete down here. Not if you want black women. If you want a white woman or a Hispanic woman or Asian woman, that's different. But the ratio to black men to black women, I don't know if it's anywhere like this in the country. That brother was exactly right. I mean, they're just so many.
Hey, there we have it right there. We had the lead attorney on the hot seat. He answered. I feel like he did a really good job in elaborating on all the questions. We got some guests really kind of back down from some of the questions. So I think you were one of the first people to get through all of the questions without running into any major hiccups. I'm used to
talking. That's why I told you. I told you in the beginning. If you have to cut me off, just jump in and cut me off. I don't think it's rude at all because I don't know if you know O'Shea Duke Jackson. He's a content creator, and he'll have these interviews that last about an hour, and he'll ask all these questions. And our first interview, he asked me for the whole hour. He asked me 2 questions. He asked me one question, and I just went. And then 30 minutes later, he was like, "Well, let me cut you off and ask you another question." He asked me another question, and I just went, and then an hour was gone. So I can talk, but I'm an attorney, so that's why I just said, if you want me to just shut up, just jump in because we'll talk your socks off.
Hey, I appreciate it because again, you gave us a lot of information on a lot of different topics that we touched on. With Charlamagne the God, there were some things I didn't know there that I may need to go back. We have a saying that we say here, research purposes only. we strive. We always tell people, go do your research. Don't listen to just one person or anything right here. Go do your research. Find out things on your own. We always encourage people to do things like that. And, I think that's what helps this channel grow. And it's also helped you, throughout your career, doing your due diligence, doing your research, getting you along in life. Before we get out of here, make sure you let everybody know, how can they follow you on social media? If they have a legal situation, how can they contact you? Where can they find you on social media, or do you have a website you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'm old, guys, so I don't really do the social media stuff too much. But if you want to find me, I'm just right here, it says right here, the Lead Attorney on YouTube. If you just put the Lead Attorney on YouTube, you can find me. And I got topics about current events, and I also have some topics to help the brothers with child support and visitation and things like that. That's kind of like my older stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just taught, I did a Kevin Samuels video recently, and then I did the Charlamagne the God, Boyce Watkins hating on your boy over here. I talked about maybe I've done some Kwame stuff. So, just stuff that's kind of in the news. I did do the Britney Spears. I just threw that in. I didn't know how that was going to work because, most of my subscribers, we're all brothers and sisters over here. So I didn't know how it was going to work. People liked it, but no one watched it. So no one really watched that. They were really feeling that Britney Spears. But we just talk about interesting things, and we're just having conversations. So that's kind of what we're doing.
All right. Well, the link to his website, social media following is going to be in the description of this video, you guys. So make sure you go check out his channel. I appreciate him coming on today. Like I said before, he gave us a lot of answers and insight to some of the things that we've been discussing. If you have any questions for the Lead Attorney, hopefully he can join us in the live premiere of this video. When the video goes live, if he's in there, if he's in the comments, or if he's in the live chat, make sure if you have any questions, you can ask them then. And then we'll also be going live just to discuss this video, discuss the Lead Attorney. And if he has time, hopefully he can jump in for a few minutes and talk to you guys, and maybe elaborate on some of these things. Because I know a lot of people, obviously they want to dive in on this Kwame Brown, Sotomayor, and Hassan Campbell thing. And I know they probably want to pick your brain about that. And that's something I don't even want to go down that road, because you can spend another hour just talking about that situation alone.
Yeah, I had Tommy hating on me. Tommy made a couple videos about your boy. He did. You're like, he did.
He did. Yeah,
I haven't seen him, but so you saw him. But I heard he kind of, he's kind of light me up a little bit.
You know what? It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. It was in typical Tommy fashion, where if you understand his content, and you know how crazy he can get, it was on the lower side of his crazy. He didn't go too crazy with it. So, but hey, it helped me find your channel. It helped me find your content.
Oh, is that how you found me?
Oh yeah. So I mean, sometimes
shout out to Tommy Sotomayor.
Hey, bad publicity is is sometimes anything works. So I always preach that. And like I said, y'all, make sure y'all check him out. He goes live all the time, so don't hesitate to jump in his live, support this man's channel, because he's ultimately, even outside of YouTube, he's doing something really good for the community. From where I'm from in Indiana, you don't see a lot of black attorneys. You don't see a lot of black men striving to even get there, or they don't have the intestinal fortitude to stick it out through school, go into law school and put in the time and work to even get there. And I see so many people drop out on the way into whether it's med school or law school. So man, just salute to you for getting to where you're at and being a great example. And I like the fact, one of the things I like the fact is that you sound like us. Right? We can talk to you, and it doesn't sound like somebody from CNN, like we're talking to Don Lemon or somebody like that. It actually sounds like somebody who we can have a real conversation with. And that's what I appreciate the most. And I think a lot of our subscribers appreciate the same thing. That's whether they agree or disagree. It doesn't matter, but like I said, when you can relate to them, you can have a conversation with anybody. So, hey, that's the end of this show right here. Great interview with the Lead Attorney. Again, we'll be dropping this live premiere video. We'll be going live to discuss it as well. You may even see me over there on his channel, if he would have me on his panel. But just make sure you guys check the notifications. If you don't see those notifications drop, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter. We drop notifications there as well. But as for this interview, man, it was a great conversation. A a lot more interviews to come. We have some athletes lined up on Newsbreak, so make sure you're following us on Newsbreak as well. The link to Newsbreak is going to be in the description of the video. But hey, it's FYF Sports. It's been a great interview with the lead attorney, family attorney out of Atlanta, Georgia. We'll be back with more sports and news later. It's FYF Sports, and we out.
This will hit me in my soul when I needed it. After the cold nights of grinding, now I need to vent. Calling the law cause I'm killing forever heaven sent. My brother told me that my calling is a mic and kick. I do it all like the last chance of finding love. I ain't no simp, just a nigga that believe in love. Can guarantee that the moment that I get a chance, want to succeed, so as a man I gotta take a stance. Though they don't see it, but they steady trying to stop the vision. I'm seeing squares from every angle like a damn prism. Can never fail cause my family's searching for a blessing. Teaching my seed, don't let them cross you like an intersection. Born in the 80s where they took it and they stood tall. I need a minute like the last second I'm calling cars. Oh, you rich niggas steady talking politics. Oh, it goes several seats, nigga, you need to take a sit. Cause you ain't never felt the struggle, now you seen the pain. Cause when they cut his man, they steady go against the grain. I pray that all my homies make $1 million bucks, so we can all ride for one pushing big trucks. Giving back to the city that raised us. Can't save them all, but the present show a lot of love. I'm in and all when I see them people give it back. Under it all, we put them people right up on our back, and we gon' compete. Living through the struggle every day, so we can compete. Fighting really hard every day, so we can compete. Doing everything that we can, so we can compete. Letting people know who we are, and we gon' compete. I'm in my car, scrolling black and mild window low, contemplating on the moment that I get to blow. I play the lotto, I don't do it for the wrong reasons. Pray if I hit, I don't use it for the wrong reason. And if I hit, I got that chopper for them suckers scheming. Gotta make it cause I tell you that my mama need it. Calm down, homie, this your winning thoughts talking. I know a person needed more that's borderline cough. Okay, that's cool, but my heart hurts me every day. Cause when my papa needed help, I couldn't even save. And you don't know about the mortgage getting paid late. And you don't know about them, I was working low pay. I tell you this, my life and it's a true story. So when you tell me about them others, man, it just bores me. So get the hell out my way, I'm trying to make a play. So we can all live good and have some better days. And we can compete. Living through the struggle every day, so we can compete. Fighting really hard every day, so we can compete. Doing everything that we can, so we can compete. Letting people know who we are, and we gon' compete.